And so we look forward to also working on smart grid improvements in general. Now, more specifically, and not belabor the meeting any further, I'm here to talk about contract extension with AMEA. On October the 18th, our board of directors, after 2 years of development, as well as working through what was the most palatable approach to extending contracts, they approved an extension on October the 18th, of which our members are now considering in terms of extending contracts with us. We currently have had 3 members in Dothan, which is one of our largest members, Luverne and Lynette, that have approved this resolution or amendment to our contracts. And it appears that all 11 will be approving these before Christmas. But let me share with you kind of what we've done. First of all, we've had a strategy of rate stability. And so since March of 2012, we've had no rate increases. And we don't anticipate having a wholesale rate increase through 2025. And in our planning process, what we're doing now is looking beyond 2025 and in our efforts to reduce rates in 26 and beyond. The success of our initiative associated with that, we're doing a request for proposals of some utilities all over the Southeast as we look to move from coal generation to likely more renewables and solar energy, as well as natural gas generation, which is much more economical. And so what we're doing to be able to do that, to put in utility scale solar like you have here in Lafayette. However, the economics of the last 2 or 3 years have gotten much more economical. And utility scale solar, of solar projects that might be 1,000 acres, and you've seen it here, but even larger facilities is what we're looking to do today, as really a initiative for fuel diversity. In effect, when solar generation creates a megawatt hour, in effect kilowatts coming out of those fields, that's offsetting natural gas that we might be buying instead. And so it's acting as a diversity in terms of total fuels. Now, in order to contract for utility scale solar, the developers require 20-year power purchase arrangements. Many of them require 30 to 35 years. And so as we looked at our current contracts with our members, the last time we had an extension was in 1996, when we took our contracts from 2005 and extended them to 2035, which is where we are today. And so in order to put a 20-year power purchase agreement in place, again, if the solar facility goes in place in 2022, then we need a contract that will at least take us out to 2042 to be able to do that. And so the most palatable or the most supported provision that our board unanimously agreed to was simply a 10-year extension from 2035 to 2045 that accomplished that. It also had an evergreen provision associated that allowed it to go on unless a member wanted to notice that you wanted to do something different. And so that's the simplicity of it. It changed none of the notice. And if we ever go into any kind of debt associated with bond issues, Mr. Attorney, we have to come back to the Fed and all members for you to approve us doing bonds associated with investing in generation assets. And so, of course, AMEA has been one of the low-cost power providers in our region, and we're looking to reduce costs even further coming that 26 period and beyond. And so you have before you, and I know Lewis has provided to you the resolution associated with that extension for your consideration. And what I'm doing is going and meeting with our members associated with getting the governing bodies to approve those resolutions for that purpose of that 10-year extension. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. You might ask, well, now what types of initiatives we are looking at? One is the utility scale solar. Second is combined cycle gas resources in terms of contracting. And then the other is associated with trying to mitigate volatility in natural gas pricing, of which we would fix contracts so as to mitigate any volatility as it pertains to natural gas. And so, Mr. Mayor and Council, I appreciate your consideration of this resolution. And we certainly look forward to supporting Lafayette in every initiative you have. You know, we're looking at a smart grid initiative to upgrade all metering, which we believe collectively with the 6 cities that we serve currently that aren't planning that smart grid, that we can do jointly and jointly finance that. And so we look forward to these initiatives that will help you serve your customers even better and even at lower costs. And so thank you. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the resolution that you're considering.
Just from each of us right here, we thank you for what you've done and your assistance and your help and what AMEA and everybody on your staff has done to assist every one of our workers that we have. So just thank you. If you were to have any other city that's not able to spend all of their money,
yes, sir. I've already had that request.
I'm just saying.
You're ready. You're ready.
You made a good contribution toward it. We need a little bit more.
I understand.
But we understand.
I appreciate that. I do also, I don't get to talk to y'all every year or so. I know some of you, it's been many years I don't come, and Lewis just said that don't come. It's okay. No bothers. But we have a power supply conference that takes place in April this year that we talk about electric generation, fuels, what's impacting our industry, and clearly your electric department is a key element for the prosperity of not only your city, but your budgets and everything else you do. And so, again, I welcome you to come and attend those if you can. Any questions regarding the resolution?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The resolution, you got the number right there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you present that?
Yes, sir. I make a motion that we pass resolution number 2018-11-15-01.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and that is to amend the power sales contract that's just been presented to us.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This passes. Does any one of our council members have a question or comment? Again, Councilmember, let's go. Okay, let's back up just a minute right here. I don't believe that the code enforcement is actually going to be updated by our code enforcement officer. However, Lewis and I can talk just a little bit about it. I'm going to make one comment, and without being exactly specific or anything, there's been at least 50 properties that have been identified, and what Officer Arwood is looking at is maybe sending out about 10 at a time.
That's correct.
Sending 10 at a time, so that as we have a public hearing, he would send out 10 one week.
Yep. So far, I've got 10 that's scheduled for the 14th of January, and then there'll be 10 scheduled for the 28th of January. So to keep from having the council meeting just flooded with 30 or 40 at one time, I just done 10. So every few weeks, I'm going to just send out those 10 now. I do know that you guys have the election coming up, so I was going to skip a couple of council meetings and focus on some of the vehicles and some of the junk in the yards, and then pick back up on the dilapidated houses once you guys have the election.
And our code enforcement has also agreed to assist with animal control. And he's out on the streets and in the neighborhoods, and it's very evident with the number of properties that have been identified at this point in time. I think each one of us would just say thanks for the effort and keep it up. And do we need to add anything else as far as an update on code enforcement?
Yeah, one thing I was going to, Chief and I talked about, I spoke with Lewis, just in the last couple of weeks, I've saw approximately 100 cars parked in yards, on blocks, that's not, yeah, in the street. So, you know, the process is a little bit shorter on them removing that, it's only 10 days, so it's not gonna take very long to accumulate a lot of cars. So we're kind of trying to focus on, you know, where we're gonna keep these cars. So, we've kind of talked about maybe trying to keep them at Scott's Toe, and Miss Tammy even mentioned we could maybe, use some of the property that's owned by Lafette to store them. So that's just something that we're trying to figure out now, because there's at least 100. There's actually more than that.
And what we're hearing, in regards to not only the vehicles, properties, and everything like that, I think it's quite evident that we're making progress now. I mean, we have it moving. When you start trying to figure out where you're going to put everything, then I would just say, if it's fine with the council, whatever decision that we make, if that's okay with y'all, that we allow him, once they find any property that we may have, if it's okay with y'all, we just go ahead and use it to begin with. If we have to change later on, we can. So this is an ongoing process.
That's right.
Is that fine with y'all? To locate it wherever we might need it this time.
And could I add this, to let the attorney make sure that, you know, I think certain things have to be done when you store cars, have to be fenced in, and certain things have an attorney to check in all the legal technical. Right.
I'll be glad to.
Okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now then, back to each council member.
I just want to tell everyone to have a great Thanksgiving, be safe, and enjoy family and friends, and just be safe and enjoy. That's all I have.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna say,
And you come back.
again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Got, two questions, Mayor. I'm concerned, about the weather. Tonight, I think it's like 34, and I think I brought it up once before about homeless people. We may not be aware, but there are some homeless people here in Lafayette, and they don't have anywhere to go on nights like tonight. So I just would like for us to consider finding some type of shelter for people. We had a call today trying to find a family somewhere to go, and we didn't have any luck finding anywhere. It's cold, people are going in abandoned buildings, and I just would hate for somebody to be found dead in an abandoned building here in Lafayette, trying to keep warm, trying to keep out the cold weather, or, you know, the building catch on fire or something. But we need to look into finding some type of place that we could at least open up when it's cold like this for people to go.
Or is anyone aware of anywhere else in the county that may have something, and I'm just speaking on a temporary basis, if we help transport someone,
There is a house in Lynette.
maybe where something's set up?
There's a house in Lynette that a lady had, but, you just can't go there. I think police officers or something has
Okay.
called, but we need something here.
I just, till we could develop
Yeah,
something. that we
right.
can- Okay?
And the other thing I wanted to bring before the council, I just told it to Chief Cotney is here because we had an incident happen last week, and we have some great people at our fire department. I would just put them up against anybody, anywhere. But with saying that, courtesy and respect goes a long way, especially when you're dealing with someone that's that have family members in the ambulance. And I'll go into more details with Chief Cotney, but we just need to remember to be treat people the way we would want to be treated if something came up in our families. Just need to remember that. That's all I have.
It's not on the agenda, but I'm going to try to make sure that I cover everything that I'm aware of right here, and I'll ask our attorney to make sure I state everything correctly. On Tuesday night, the county commission met, and they passed the ordinance for Sunday sales for the county, and that was come from the commissioner's office. The election that was held a week ago, the referendum passed approximately 3,800 to 1,900. It was about 2 to 1, which would allow Sunday sales of alcohol in the city of Lafayette and in the county areas that currently do not have it. So to coordinate with the county, which they voted on Tuesday night, we would need to suspend the rules tonight to vote on ordinance 453, which would allow Sunday sales beginning after 12 o'clock noon on Sundays. So if we could have a motion to suspend the rules, then we would begin the process, and then with that.
I'd make a motion that we suspend the rules so we can start the process for the city of Lafayette to be able to make alcohol sales on Sunday.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. To suspend the rules, we need to have a roll call, and everyone has to be in favor of it.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes. Okay, so we've suspended the rules. Now, we can now bring up a motion to approve ordinance, which is ordinance number 453, correct, Mr. Attorney?
Correct.
And in that ordinance, it states just what we all have in front of us, that would allow for the city of Lafayette, which we represent, Sunday sales beginning at 12 o'clock. So we would need a motion to approve ordinance number 453.
Move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second, and we need to do another roll call, please.
Councilmember Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now, now that we've approved ordinance 453, now that the county has approved the ordinance, we have to make one publication, because our newspaper basically comes out on Wednesday. Our next publication to announce this, we'll ask our attorney and our clerk to make sure that we have the announcement of this publication in Wednesday's paper. The county may put theirs in on Sunday of this week.
Yeah, well, my conversation happened with Mr. McCoy prior to the meeting, so I didn't get the for sure details. But his intention was they were gonna publish Wednesday, possibly. They weren't gonna make deadline for this Wednesday, so they should publish them the same time we do.
Somewhere from Sunday to Wednesday. Now, if they publish Sunday to Wednesday next week and we publish Wednesday, that's all we have to do. Then it would become effective
November 25th.
the following Sunday after Thanksgiving. And the only thing that they were trying to coordinate is that the city and the county all start at the same time. So that's what if you communicate that to the county, what we've done tonight, Mr. Attorney, then everybody will be on the same page. So it may be the Sunday after the Thanksgiving, and we would communicate that in the newspaper and also within our local businesses who have approval of alcohol sales. Now, with that being said, Go ahead.
One more thing, I'm sorry. I had talked with some of the council members about maybe changing the time of the meetings during, the fall. Because at 6 o'clock it's so dark and late. Just something, for us to think about, and we could change back when time changed forward. But, could we consider maybe just changing the meeting to 5:30 instead of waiting to 6 o'clock during the fall? Just a food for thought, maybe we can come back at the next
looking to see what would need to be done to make sure that we, follow the correct procedure for any time change.
Thank you,
Can never skip this part. I try sometimes. Could you tell us how much our bills are for the month?
Yes, Mayor, we have claims in the amount of $691,699.07.
Make a motion to pay our bill.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay our bills. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Bills will be paid.
Mayor, I have one last thing. Council meeting next month, second council meeting is actually on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
And you're gonna have a grandchild coming up sometime. Okay, the first, what is the second Monday in December? Somebody have a calendar?
First council meeting.
The 10th, that's our first.
So what I was gonna say, so the first meeting's gonna be on the 10th, and the second one would be on the 24th. My suggestion is move it to the 17th. As just off the top of my head, I'm just saying, if we don't want it after the 24th or holidays and people out, would that be fine?
Yes, sir.
Can we go ahead and put it in the form of a motion? You wanna do that tonight? We can, if someone put in the form of a motion to change December 24th, regularly scheduled meeting to a special call meeting for December 17th.
I make a motion that we, have the December 24th meeting called to a special meeting on December the 17th.
Right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? So the December 24th meeting, this time will be on December 17th.
And yes, I know Officer Allwood mentioned it. Think about in February, the election is the day after the first council meeting.
Wow.
So we'll need to reschedule that one because, you know, we have to
It's
seal the
set,
machine,
it's set.
seal everything off. And the same thing will happen if we have a runoff. It's March 26th, so that's the second council meeting of that month, so.
Well, let's,
That'd be bad. I mean,
I'm with you.
I'm sorry, you're thinking about it. I'll bring it up at the next meeting. So we can go
As
ahead.
we get older, our memories get a little shorter, so we've got November and December.
And we just want to go ahead and try to get it changed as soon as possible, because I like to update the calendar. I know we have people that go to our website and look at the calendar
Okay.
as far as the calendar up to then, so the sooner we can get that updated.
So why don't we do, at the next meeting, look at some tentative dates right there to offer as a suggestion to us. Okay?
Can I say, what's the latest update on the renovation of the new city hall and police municipal complex up here in the square?
I'm gonna get with George right here, but I don't wanna take anything away. They have met the last 2 weekends on Friday and Saturday. They looked at the windows outside to make sure that there's some work that's gonna need to be done, special work on the windows, that they bid that out correctly. They met with the air conditioning people specifically and went through each one of them to know exactly what to bid. Some working, some need more attention there. They met with brought in an elevator person to look at, to bring the elevator into compliance, exactly what would be able to bid on that. They looked at the front awning, potentially to make it a metal awning of some type instead of a canvas, to make it be long-term. And also met the previous week in what would be the police department where the cubicles are downstairs, as to how many of those cubicles could be refurbished, could be saved, could be taken out, and really reduce them from I'm just gonna say from 20 down to 10, but make 10 workable. So, within the last weeks, there've been multiple right there, and it should be getting much closer to bid out. But, there was some uncertainty with air conditioning and the windows because of the length of time that it had gone. They wanted to make sure everybody did it exactly the same. Is that fair enough?
That is correct.
Okay. We have, 3 deeds, if we want to do these, together, cemetery deed 1495, 96, and 97 to convey.
Make a motion, we convey 1495 through 1497.
Motion and second to convey the 3 cemetery deeds just mentioned. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Meeting stands adjourned. We thank y'all all for coming tonight.